Alrighty, I can't figure out how to work the little audio thing, so you guys are getting a video. Hope you enjoy it. This video is for anyone who perhaps wasn't present in class or just needs a little reminder on what my presentation was. My name is Grace Kendrick. I did the Watergate scandal. Now let's get started, right? Okay. If it's gonna work. There we go. Imagine this. You're the average night guard working a shift unlike any other. The date is June 17th, 1972. You turn your head and notice an exit door, seemingly taped open. In a split second, you call on your past training in relation to procedure and alert the authorities. And in the following days, you realize this minor thread you pulled has completely unraveled a complex net of crime and corruption in the nation. These are the events that led up to what is now known as the Watergate scandal that I will now walk you through. So what is it? Basically, it was the uncovering of the web of lies in which political sabotage, wiretaps, and many other crimes were used to aid in the re-election of President Nixon. As for key events, the first of which would be that a group of people broke into the Democratic National Committee headquarters. Among those 5 who broke in, 4 were former CIA agents. I will name them in later slides, along with the 2 co-conspirators uncovered as well. As an investigation was held, Nixon ultimately orders the FBI to slow down the investigation and hinder it in order to make it seem like it's not quite as big of a deal as it should be. Later, it seems that his desire to have the FBI hinder itself was because he was complacent in the crime. This was revealed through the Nixon tapes, and these tapes were ultimately irrefutable evidence that indicted him in being involved with the cover-up of this crime. From that point, everything begins to spiral. The American people lose trust. 3 counts of impeachment are waived against him, and he ultimately elects to resign. Beyond that, we have the timeline. So as stated before, June 17th, 1972, 5 burglars broke in. After that, June 23rd, 1972, Nixon ordered the FBI to defuse everything and slow it down. Beyond that, October 20th of 1973, the Saturday Night Massacre occurred, in which no one died, but President Nixon ultimately fired Special Prosecutor Archibald Cox and accepted the resignations of Attorney General Elliot Richardson and Deputy Attorney General William Ruckelshaw. After that, on August 9th of 1974, Nixon resigns as President of the United States in the face of impeachment. Now that we've gone through all the basic facts, we get into key figures, which are our important people, and there are definitely a few of them, but namely, I want to get into 2 first and foremost. Number 1 is President Richard Nixon. I have already said plenty about him, but I'm about to say more. As stated, he is the President of the United States. He was very much all about having no comment in the early stages of the investigation. He spent a ton of time generally complicating the investigation itself. He was ultimately forced to pass over the tapes after denying access that he denied due to the claim of national security. He would offer to give them transcripts or anything similar, but those could be falsified, and there was no true telling what would go on in the true tapes unless they had them, and they were ultimately leaked, which meant they were given to the public. One of the key informants in uncovering Nixon's involvement was Mark Deep Throat Felt. He was very strict on the information he leaked, to the point that he was not uncovered as the snitch until early into the 2000s, when he was on his deathbed. And I think he was 98 years old. His leak was what ultimately publicized the involvement of Nixon in the scandal. And beyond that, we have a couple other names, as you can see. On the left, we have the 5 men who ultimately were arrested in that original crime of the burglary of the DNC. And among them, we also have the 2 who were implicated afterwards. So first we have James McCord, Virgilio Gonzalez, Frank Sturgis, Eugenio Martinez, and Bernard Barker. They were the 5 who broke in. And then we have Howard Hunt, who was a former CIA agent who worked in the White House. And we also have Gordon Liddy, who was former FBI on the board of the committee to re-elect the president. More than that, though, we have Archibald Cox, who was the special prosecutor who was fired by Nixon, admits the scandal in the event known as, what I stated earlier, the Saturday Night Massacre, alongside the resignation of Attorney General Elliot Richardson and Deputy Attorney William Ruckelshaw. John Dean served as a whistleblower for the presidential involvement as well. In a 7-hour statement, and Alexander Butterfield disclosed the actual existence of the so-called Nixon tapes. Next we have impacts, which is what everyone's really here for, right? That's what we want to hear. Getting into that, at the time, there was an immeasurable amount of mistrust from the American citizens, in which Nixon was the president who preached law and order and found it very important to maintain that value, and he was ultimately the one found not upholding it, as he was actively working to cover up one of the greatest scandals in all of history. 3 impeachment articles were placed against him as stated, but he ultimately resigned. 48 total convictions were made, but over 60 indictments were part of this case. He was ultimately pardoned by the president who followed him and never, taken in or served time for his actual crimes, which the American citizens did not appreciate. Watergate ultimately becomes synonymous with government scandal. And in more modern times, the phrase blank gate, using gate as a suffix, has grown synonymous with any sort of media drama, as it's been picked up by TikTok. In this, the most prime examples I have that come to mind are Tattoo Gate, which is what I have pictured here, in which a woman paid $2,600 and was not able to get her money back when the art did not reflect what she asked for, and Mascara Gate, in which a woman was advertising mascara and wore false lashes. So it's really lost its umph because of media now, but ultimately that is the presentation, and I hope you liked it. Finally, this is not part of it, but I do just want to include it, my references, namely the links of Watergate Summary Part 1 and Part 2. Those are the actual files of the case by the government, which were very interesting, and I really liked reading through them, but I just like reading through that kind of stuff. So if you're like me, and you're weird, I guess, simple way to put it, you might enjoy that too, so it's linked at the end here, and enjoy!